I get dozens of questions a week on what people need to be looking for inside of the ads manager. What metrics do I need to care about? How do I make sure my funnels are performing? What do I do if XYZ problem occurs? And what blows my mind is when I did any research on this, nobody talked about what to look at in the ads manager. Not a single person. I can't find this decision-making matrix anywhere. And if you do, it's typically some e-com guy at scale talking about super complex in-depth tactics like attribution or placements or all this fancy shit. Custom metrics inside of the ads manager, which don't even get me started on that. Most of them don't even fucking matter. But what I wanted to do was put together a video that explained very simply how to look at the ads manager, how to assess where problems are on the ad level, not the funnel level, but on the ad level, so that you know what to fix and when, and you can assess what's going on inside of the business. So number one, the first thing that you need to be understanding inside of the ads manager is what are the metrics that I need to pay attention to? And this is where so many people go wrong. They look at reach, they look at impressions, they look at click-through rate, they look at all of these things, landing page views. And at the end of the day, none of them mean a damn thing. I'm going to swear a lot in this video, so just bear with me. There are only 2 metrics in the ads manager that mean anything to you. And it is your click-through rate, but specifically your link click-through rate, and it is your CPMs. And then if you want, your cost per result. Those are the only 3 metrics that you need to pay attention to in the ads manager. And here's the other crazy part. These are the only 2 that you can directly change. Cost per result as a downstream effect. Why is this? Why do I not look at anything other than these 2? Well, let's take one metric people talk about all the time, hook rate. Hook rate is your 3-second video views divided by impressions, which tells me what was the retention on the front end of the ad. How well were people retained? Here's what's interesting. I don't give a fuck what that looks like. I could give 2 shits about my retention curve on an ad. Yeah, it's going to help, but that doesn't tell me anything because all I'm looking for is what is the ROAS on the ad? Is the ad making me money or is the ad supporting in the sales process? Because if it is not, none of this matters. My retention curves, if anything, if it looks like this or if I have a really shitty hook rate, all that tells me is, okay, I'm filtering out for people that aren't my ideal buyer, especially if I have a super specific call out. And so there's a lot of metrics inside of the ads manager that don't matter. So why click-through rate link? Why CPMs? Why cost per result? Well, cost per result just tells me, okay, if my baseline's $30 cost per result and all of a sudden I spike up to 50, something's wrong, let me look at this. So it's a great leading indicator. Once I understand what my cost per result is, and I've set a good baseline, now I can go dig into, again, we're just focused on the ad level. We'll get into some of this later, but just on the ad level. Now I'm going to dig into, okay, did my CPM spike or did my click-through rate drop? I guess the last one I'll add here too, now that I mentioned it, is frequency, but for a different reason. Did my click-through rate drop or did my CPM spike? Those are really the only 2 things that affect your cost per result on the ad level itself. Now you have things down funnel like opt-in rate, booking rate, etc., VSL play rate, but on the ad level in the campaign, it is literally just your click-through rate or your CPMs. If I see either of these spike, then I'll look at frequency. But that's it. That is it. Don't overcomplicate this. Don't look at all these other fancy metrics. Just look at click-through rate, CPMs. That's all you need to understand. As you start spending a ton more, yeah, some of the other stuff comes into play. But generally speaking, if you're spending less than $5,000 a day, click-through rate, CPMs. Use your cost per result as a way to gauge if something's broken. If you see a deflated click-through rate or an inflated cost per milli CPM, then look at your frequency. If your frequency's high, if I'm at like a 3x, I know that my ads are just being overserved. So just real quick for definitions, click-through rate is the amount of people that click the link in the ad. CPMs is the amount it's costing me to get in front of my ideal consumer. This is based off of 2 things, either the size of the audience or the amount of people bidding for space in that audience. So if there's a ton of people bidding, it's going to cost me more. If there's a really small audience, it's going to cost me more. So that's the big thing there. And then frequency is the number of times my ad gets served. That's it. So those are the 3 metrics you need to look for. And then cost per result, again, is just something that tells you whether something's broken or not. So those are the big 3 there. Now, once I understand the metrics and I can now diagnose what's going on here, the number 2 thing I always look for is where spend distribution is going. So I had a conversation in the DMs today with a buddy of mine, and he was asking me why his cost per acquisition was rising. I may have butchered it, but he spends about $100,000 per event. I think it was either 2 a month or let's just call it 2 a month for sake of the video. Could have been $400,000 a month. Could have been $200,000 a month in spend. Anyway, multiple 6 figures in spend. He's asking me why his cost per acquisition was rising. So what I did was I broke down this very basic framework I use for making sure or checking to see if anything's broken. Because if everything looks fine, if I'm running the same ads, I'm using angles at work, I always revert to this. A concept you see me talk about all the time is that your business is just a science experiment. Meaning you have a control and you have a variant. Your job is to test new variants to see if you can beat your control. That's it. So what I'm going to do, for example, is I'll test a headline for opt-in page. I'll test a new ad. I'll test all of these different things. But my goal is just to test for a variant that beats the control. Now, if I notice my metrics go out of whack, I'm going to look to see if anything changed from the control. Remember, we're trusting Facebook to make these decisions. If you want to do your 1 ad per ad set model, great. You're a piss poor capital allocator. You can get fucked if you're trying to do that. Some people pull it off. Again, not saying it's not a strategy that works, but objectively you're being stupid because you're thinking you're smarter than $1 trillion company. Now, let's say you're letting Meta do its thing, as you should. Sometimes what will happen is, let's say I dupe out a campaign and I relaunch. Maybe in the first go around, ad 1 was getting all the spend. But then in the second go around, it changes to ad 2. If I see my cost rise, everything else looks good. I'm going to see if the control changed from ad 1 to ad 2. If all of a sudden my spend moved over to ad 2, what's different about ad 2 than ad 1? If I notice something different, well, then I know, okay, cool. Because my distribution of spend changed, I now know I need to fix that, or I need to go back to the control. I need to force spend back to what I was doing, see if I can get my cost to drop. So what we're doing is we're playing this game of if something changed, what was the variation? What changed from the control that worked last time? And if nothing changed, then it could just be ad fatigue, frequency. But if something changed, new ads are getting spend, different placements got spend, I'm going to force meta back to the control just to make sure that my everything resets. And if I can establish that same baseline or like slightly inflated cost from ad fatigue, that's totally fine. But what we're doing is this game of control and variant. So what am I actually looking for on the account level? A couple of things. Number one, what ads are getting all the spend? Did that change from when they were performing before? If I spend 100K on an event, I make 400K from the event. The next time I spend 100K, I only make 300K. Did anything change? Were different ads getting different levels of spend? That's the first part. Second part, what about placements? This one I saw on a consulting call recently where I hopped on with a client and broke down the ad account. It was like click-through rate or CPM spiked or dropped by 2/3. That's a little funny. Nothing inherently was wrong. Like you still was running at the same ROAS, but it was like, why did this happen? So we went and looked at the spend distribution. If you go down, there's a breakdown tab in the top right corner. You click that, you'll see a drop down, you hit placements. You'll be able to see exactly where your ads are getting served. Are they getting served on the Reels tab, the Stories tab, the Facebook fucking Marketplace, the Audience Network? Don't even get me started on that. Where are the spend going? Did the spend change? So if when we were performing well, it all went to Reels, did it move and start getting distributed towards Stories, for example? And all of a sudden my cost rose. So again, I'm gonna look at ad and then I'm gonna look at placement. The next thing I'm gonna look at is targeting. If I'm running multiple ad sets, say it's CBO, for example, am I spending more on retargeting this go around? Am I spending more on broad targeting this going around? If I'm, from a targeting perspective, if I'm doing messaging tests in my ad sets, is it going towards a different messaging pocket? Where's my spend going? So that's the second part of this, is understanding my spend distribution. So first, look at those core metrics. Once I've done that, if I still can't figure out what's going on, let me see if the distribution of spend changed. Because again, it could look the same, but if my money is going to different places, that's another problem. And that brings me to my next problem. If my metrics look the same and if my spend distribution looks the same, then I will move to the funnel. Now, this video, I don't want to go too deep in the funnel, but what I will tell you is more so the thought process. If everything at the ad level and then the ads manager looks good to go, the next thing I'm going to look for is if anything broke at the funnel level. Did my opt-in rate spike? Did something tech break? So a great example of this was running a webinar with a client. We're just media buying on the account. And show rate went from 30% to 20-something% when we came in. 40-ish, 30-ish, down to 15, 20% when we came in. And what we asked was that the operator, the marketer, implemented UTM tracking. I wasn't hopping on the webinars. I trust the guy, killer operator, savage. But after 2 webinars in a row and him saying nothing changed, I was like, let me just double check. So I went in, and what was interesting is we were using Webinar Jam, but Webinar Jam was going first name, last name, contact info, and then what they had, and this is where we fucked up, was it was asking for UTMs on the registration form. So it was purely a tech error on the funnel side that caused the metric to contract. So I said, dude, we got to get rid of these ASAP. We did. Guess what happened to the show rate? Went from 15 to 17%, all the way up to 30%, just from a tech error. So sometimes when you're looking at things, go down funnel, see if anything broke on the funnel side. You could have headline fatigue. You could have funnel fatigue. That's the first thing. And then once I've done that and I've looked at the funnel level, then I'll go down to the sales level and I'll see if anything's changing on the sales side. Great example of this. This pissed me off. Probably shouldn't be talking about this on here, but they probably won't see this video. Is 100K month, go to push up spend. Everything is seemingly good. Nothing has changed on the marketing front. Push up spend, business contracts. Nothing changed on my side. Metrics still holding steady, funnel still holding steady, not a fucking thing. Business just, and then I'm getting gaslit. Oh, it's fucking sales team's fine. I'm sitting there going, something's off. Something is fucking wrong here. So I look at the transcripts and like there are some closable deals in there. Like I said, leads have not changed. Closer, again, good closer. Kind of gaslighting me. It's a higher ticket, much higher ticket product, multiple 5 figures. Starts gaslighting me. Now I think I'm going crazy. So now I'm doing this fucking super in-depth audit on the sales transcript side. Come to find out, the sales agency they hired was doing fuck all. Absolute fuck all. They were doing fuck all. And so I'm stuck getting gaslit. We doubled budget in a month and the business just fucking contracts. Pardon my French. I'm making no money this month off this deal. Selfishly, I want to make money off the deal. That's why I do this. So when I make no money and I'm getting fucking gaslit, I lose my shit. And then I find out sales agency isn't doing their job. Reps aren't being managed properly. Now we know. And so when you go to audit, I follow this. First, I look at the ad level. Did anything break at the ad level? If the ad stuff looks good, nothing's changed, let's go to the funnel. Once I look at the funnel, if the funnel looks good, let's look at the sales team. What changed there? And then obviously throughout all of this, I'm looking at lead quality. But this is my decision-making matrix when I go through an ad account or I go through a business. Number 1, do not let your salespeople gaslight you. Get fucked. Pardon my French. Sometimes I tell them, I changed stuff. Changed nothing. Sales team goes back to what they were doing before. So salespeople are 1. Make sure you look into the funnel. But before I, let's look at the ad level and don't overcomplicate it. It really isn't that difficult. If you want us to take a look at your business, there's going to be a link below. You can book a call to speak to myself or a member of the team about what that could look like, if we can help at all. Worst case, you come away and we solve your bottleneck for you and you can just go on and keep scaling. But that is how I approach where to spend or put my attention when looking at and auditing the ads manager. I hope that helps, guys. If you want more content like this, drop a comment below, subscribe to the video, let me know what you want to see next, and I will see you in the next one.